Good morning, Dr. Ali. My name is SITI BINTI Ali, and me and my group will present to you the article review that we have reviewed, which is with the title Motivation in Second Language Acquisition Among Learners in Malaysia, which is under topic Language, Brain and Body. First thing first, the theme. The theme that we have learned through this article is there are the different types and level of motivation that contribute to the various outcomes in students' learning and acquisition. It is because motivation itself is one of the mechanisms within our mental range that enable a person to do something ambitiously or otherwise. And according to these researchers, learning new language requires us to make a lot of effort to adapt with the second language. And through this article also, the researchers mentioned that all of the learning process and activities are filtered through the student's motivation. It means that when the student have the motivation, they can move their body and use their brain to acquire the language successfully. By doing so, they will also able to learn the sociolinguistic, which is they can learn the culture, the races, the history of the language itself.
Hi, my name is NURSYAFIQA NADIA BINTI MOHAMMAD. I will present my background, problem statement, and objective. First, for background, learning English as a second language require a huge motivation that sincerely came from brain, which is include motivation. So if there is no motivation exists in learning, there is no effort to do so. Second, the researchers stated that motivation is some feeling that attracts students to learn and achieve what they want in their life. In this case, when students want to learn new language, they should have motivation, especially when they want to acquire the advanced and different language from their mother tongue. Third, however, the researchers stated that it is quite hard for the students in Malaysia, especially TESOL students, to cope with the language they learn. Because of this statement, because the students have low motivation to learn other language and they are very comfortable with their mother tongue. So all teachers and lecturers need to know the skill and the trick to acquire students' interest and motivation in learning. The improvement can be made in learning progress, thus students can be in great benefit. Next. For problem statement, the first problem statement is researcher want to find out what is factor that affecting students' second language acquisition. They stated that students that have no motivation will not initiate to learn. This will cause students have no interest and can't acquire the second language. The second problem statement is motivation can influence students' learning development. The second problem statement that I found in this article is motivation can influence student learning development. Students need to have a very high interest in learning so that it will be easier for the progress of the language acquirement. Last but not least, the research. Main objective of this research is to investigate the type of motivation that Malaysian BTESOL students use in learning English as a second language. This research is useful to the reader as they can know what students need to boost their motivation in effort to acquire the second language. The second is to determine the level of motivation among Malaysian BTESOL students who learn English as a second language. From the objective stated, the author wants to have an insight about how much motivation that needed by the students. This is a great research because in attempt to learn other language, students are definitely need a huge motivation. Thank you.
Hi, my name is IZZAH. I'm going to present the literature part, which is literature review from the article. From the article, I found that the challenge of the student are adapt while learning English language is which they are not confident enough because of their surrounding. They're afraid to talk in English in their environment because of afraid to laugh off or being discriminated or something. The second point is they are learning second language for in their own reading because they want to be able to achieve something better or to set a target goal so that they are required to learn the language. Okay, and then the last one that I found in the literature review, which is the age gap amongst the student. Okay, they believe that young learners are more capable to learn the language more than the adult learner because the young learner have active cognitive mind or brain. They used to be able to catch up the information more quickly than the adult. Okay, move to the next slide, which is methodology. Okay, here is the methodology. As the researchers said that they were targeted 150 second year student, BTS student as a participant. And then they use quantitative method for their survey. The location of their survey are at the private university in Selangor. And then they use WhatsApp as a media to distribute the question. And finally, they analyze the survey question using the SPSS to analyze the survey. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Moving on to the findings. The first finding that the researchers found is the types of motivation. What types of motivation that pre-TESOL students in Malaysia most use? The first one is the instrumental, which is with the highest score 3,769. Follow up with the integrative, resultative, and last but not least in intrinsic. All of these data collected in mathematical count, which is total score. Let's see the first one, instrumental motivation. Instrumental is where the students motivated by the external reward. They learn the new language, the second language, because they want get the external reward like good salary, good job, good future. Okay, follow up with the integrative, which is most of the student more likely to learn the language because they want to get to know to the people by using this language. The third one, resultative. Resultative motivation is highly, strongly affected by the result, their achievement. So they learn hard, they learn the language, the second language, because they want to keep up the good achievement, the good result. Last but not least, the most reliable motivation, the most useful motivation is intrinsic, which is only score 1,681. Okay, so for the intrinsic, these types of motivation is where the students want to learn the language willingly because they're interested, because they love the subject, and also because of they really want to get to know about the language itself. So they learn the language willingly. And all of the data collected for finding one, the types of motivation, are in mathematical counts, which is the total score. Moving on to second findings, the researchers found that the level of motivation, they want to see what level of motivation that BTSL students in Malaysia have. The first one is instrumental, which is It is all of the data in a statistically count, average mean score. Okay, the instrumental got 4.19, integrative 3.88, resultative 3.74, intrinsic 3.63. And for these findings, the instrumental, which is the student learn the new language because they want to get the external reward, maintain with the highest score. Follow up with the integrative, resultative, and the last one is instructive.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is ZAINAB. So I will be explaining regarding practical implication about the article. So as you guys can see, students in the article, students have poor attitude in learning English as second language. They also have lack of motivation, and also in schools there are less competent teachers. Therefore, these have led to barriers among students in learning English as second language. Therefore, and other than that, it has caused students learning English to be considered as not to be successful in Malaysia. So the outcome of the students' poor attitude, lack of motivation, and having less competent teachers in school is students have barriers and English to not be considered as the second language, to not be considered as a successful language in Malaysia. And other than that, in terms of lack of motivation, this can be seen where students who are speaking English, they tend to focus on grammar that made them forget to acquire the language. And other than that, also others were afraid because they were afraid to be laughed off. So this is why many students often gave up easily in learning the second language. So from here, the event, which is lack of motivation, have caused students to often gave up easily in learning the second language. So the implication is because they tend to focus on grammar that made them forget to acquire the language, and other implications were because they are afraid to be laughed off.
Okay, hi, I am NURSYAFIQA. So now I'm going to present about the strengths and weaknesses of the research paper. What I can find as a strength in the research paper is the citation used by the research. The researcher is 15 above of research paper, which we can find that a minimum 15 in a research is such a good research. The research objective and question is met the aim of the research, and the conceptual framework also figure out with flow. The methodology used is ease the process with the instrument used questionnaire, which is adapted from past research paper with reliable test from alpha 0.926, and the researcher also using a purpose sampling because they are selecting a B-test student from private university. As the finding, all the data is presented in percentage and also graph, and the four motivation are figured out and presented well in the finding. All the keyword is discussed deeply and clear in the discussion part. The weakness that I found in this research paper is maybe the researcher can use more instrument to gather more data. For example, they can use also qualitative instrument. Besides, maybe the researcher also can choose other program as the medium used in the university is English. Rather than choosing a B-test student, they can choose also other programs such as public relations student, theater student, or an ed. The researcher also maybe can discuss more in correlation between motivation and language. They can look into the effectiveness of motivation in language learning.
So I will be explaining regarding critical summary. So from the article, it can be seen that the author had a strong purpose in conducting the research. Thus, able to get the relevant result to conclude the studies with few suggestions given. The researchers also managed to reach their goal of figuring the level of motivation, as well as identifying the highest type of motivation that prove positive impacts to students learning in second language. Also, the result of the research hopefully will help teachers in planning their methods to hire students' interest in learning the second language. This indicated that the motivation gave a huge impact towards brain and body, towards the society in language learning. The article also provided excellent explanation. However, the information was not too specific and precise. The authors can include qualitative methods to strengthen the research.
For the recommendation, the researcher is suggested to, as a lecturer and teacher, maybe they can design a classroom environment because it involves brain and body to develop a language. With the classroom, a fun classroom environment is able to attract the language learning. Besides that, maybe the lecturer or teacher can creatively create a fun lesson of English with a creative idea, such as they can involve a video language learning, and also provide other concept of learning. For university student, maybe the lecturer can establish a GLP program, which is Global Learning Program. With this program, maybe the learner can learn language and also can learn the culture of other country. The learner also can motivate to be more better than other students, because when they go to other country, maybe another person can speak more better than them and fluent in English, so they can motivate themselves to be more better in the future. Okay.
Last but not least, the contribution. What can this study contribute to our society, to our people, to other people in other world? Okay, these studies, we think that it can help our society, which is it can identify the correlation between motivation and acquiring the language itself, which is it will be able to give something to our society, especially within our educational platform. Okay, this study also can enlighten the authorities and also people in educational platforms like Ministry of Education, lecturers, teachers, and also headmasters. And through these studies, our Ministry of Education, teachers, or also other authorities that within this platform can take initiative to collaborate with these researchers to create a guidebook for the educators. It is because in recent study, our educators, especially teachers, do not have a lot of guidance to create more authentic teaching and learning process. And also, when a guidebook created, the educators can handle and communicate with their students more effectively. And this is a way for them to sharpen their skills, enhance their creativity techniques in their teaching and learning. It is because they can learn, understand each type of motivation, how to use it, and how to imply in their class. So that's all from us. Thank you.